最近 HBO Demand 就是 Home Demand， 就是你可以在随选视听服务里头可以看到巴菲特的传记。关于他的纪录片里头，就特别记录了股神巴菲特也曾经看错一家公司，看错了他的经营者，某个程度他曾经翻船的一个例子。来看以下的记录。
On the way to the office, it's all of a 5-minute drive. Been doing it for 54 years. One of the good things about this 5-minute drive is that on the way there's a McDonald's, so I'll pick up something.
Good morning. Thank you for choosing McDonald's. Go ahead and order whenever you're ready.
I'll have a sausage McMuffin with egg and cheese.
Anything else?
That's it. Thank you. And I tell my wife, as I shave in the morning, I say either 261, 295, or 317. And she puts that amount in a little cup by me here, and that determines which of 3 breakfasts I get. But the market's down this morning, so I think I'll pass up the 317 and go with the 295. When I got out of school, I started selling stocks. I was 20 years old at the time and looked about 16 and acted about 12. So I was not the most impressive salesperson anybody ever met. But what I would do was I went through page by page looking for possibly undervalued stocks.
Is this like going through an old family album?
Better.
When I first met Warren back in 1959, I recognized immediately that he was a very intelligent person. He'd made a lot of money buying thinly traded securities that were incredibly cheap statistically.
Warren was at that time dealing with small companies, and his investments often were to buy a company that you could figure was a discarded cigar butt, but it had one more smoke in it. And he wanted to buy at the right time to be able to benefit from the one smoke.
The first partnership started with $105,100. I put up the 100 and the other people put up the 105,000. And then at the start of 1962, I moved to Kiewit Plaza. And by the time I moved to Kiewit Plaza, we had $7 million invested, and a fair amount was profits.
Have you ever seen a juggler juggle 25 milk bottles? How did he ever get to do that? The answer is he started with 1 bottle, then 2, then 3, and just kept doing it, and pretty soon he was at 25. And that's the way we did it. So basically, we started out with cash and ended up buying a bunch of businesses, including insurance companies.
Insurance is in itself a profitable business, but it has the additional advantage of creating something that's called float. And float is the money that hangs around Berkshire while a claim is waiting to be paid. And Warren turned out to have an extraordinary ability to use the money thrown off by the float to buy companies that fed the growth of Berkshire.
In 1983, Mrs. B cashed in on her business by selling control for $55 million to a company owned by investor Warren Buffett.
Warren was quite an expert about newspapers. He got interested in the Post because he recognized it as a greatly undervalued company.
So how did he do it? By investing in what he knows and understands. Good old-fashioned American brands like Coca-Cola, Fruit of the Loom, and Dairy Queen.
What inspired you?
This inspired me.
Find what you like. Is that what
Yeah, absolutely.
When you own Coca-Cola, you own a little piece of the minds of billions and billions of people.
That is really good. It takes 20 years to build a reputation, and it takes 5 minutes to lose it.
When Warren made his investment in Solomon, I was one of the people, along with many, many others, who were quite amazed because he had taken a very critical tone in talking about investment bankers and about their greed. And here he was investing in one, Solomon Brothers, that was known to be a member of the club.
Warren and Charlie went on the board, and Charlie couldn't stand what was going on there and didn't like the culture at all. And shortly after they got involved, the thing exploded.
In 1991, on a terrible day in August, I got a call, and the two top officers of Solomon were on the other end, and they said that we had a problem.
This is NBC Nightly News. Good evening. It is the kind of scandal that rocks Wall Street and raises questions about the integrity of our financial institutions.
With the giant securities firm of Solomon Brothers under investigation for improper trading of Treasury bonds.
Solomon admitted it exceeded the limit of trading in government bonds, once by buying bonds in the name of a customer who didn't even know about the deal.
Solomon Brothers is under investigation by the Treasury Department, the Federal Reserve, the SEC, and the Justice Department. But more important than the fate of the firm itself is the impact their actions could have on the public trust and on the credibility of the American market worldwide.
The company owed $150 billion. It owed more money than any other private company in the United States at the time.
Earlier today, the U.S. Treasury Department announced that it had suspended Solomon Brothers from participating in the auction of new issues.
It was one more jolt for scandal-scarred Wall Street.
The Fed was in fact saying, you're an evil force and we don't want you trading our bonds. It was a huge turning point for Warren. And he believed that at that particular point, his reputation was on the line.
Warren had 24 hours to make up his mind as whether he was going to go forward or just bow out. And I think at that point, Solomon Brothers could have gone into bankruptcy. And Warren stepped up and took responsibility.
Hey, I'm Warren Buffett. I was elected interim chairman of Solomon Inc. A few hours ago at a board of directors meeting.
Why was it necessary for you to step in, and what is your mandate of leadership?
Warren believed that there was a too big to fail scenario. The term was not used then, but he believed that Solomon was too big to fail. And if Solomon went down, it would take other important parts of Wall Street with it.
We had this death knell from the Treasury, so I called the Treasury. Nick Brady was the secretary. I'm pleading for my life, and I'm sure my voice was cracking and everything else. I said, Nick, this is the most important day of my life. And that I really did feel that it was going to be a colossal disaster. He wasn't sure I was right at all. In fact, he probably thought I was wrong, but he knew that I felt what I was saying. So the Treasury modified its order, and in effect, of course, it was quite an endorsement. It was huge.
It saved Solomon. Nick Brady went with Warren because he trusted him. It shows how having a good reputation is really helpful in life.
Well, a Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting is partly a fun festival. It's sort of a Mardi Gras for people that come every year. It's a chance for us to have a lot of fun and meet the people that have entrusted us with their money.
We are glad you're here at our meeting. Be sure to check out our wares. We'll sell you C's candy and dilly bars and insurance for all of your cars, for it's buy all you see at the Berkshire Show.
Physically, I'm pretty well depreciated. I'm getting down to salvage value. But it really doesn't make any difference at all. It doesn't interfere with my work. It doesn't interfere with my happiness. It doesn't interfere with my thinking. I don't feel any diminution in my enjoyment of life or enthusiasm for life at all. In fact, in a sense, the game that I'm in gets more interesting all the time. It's a competitive game. It's a big game. And I enjoyed the game a lot.